So I am currently away at the minute on holiday. I won't be able to get any videos up, but I did make a lot of videos similar to the types of videos I make in this channel on my main channel, my basketball channel, about a year ago. I still think they're decent enough, so I'm going to upload a few of them. They've been all private on the main channel. I'm going to upload a few of them onto this channel this week. So anyway, enjoy the video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about 5 of the worst contracts in NBA history. I'm not going to talk about, well, obviously, apart from one, a lot of these contracts aren't considered any of the worst in NBA history, but it's just, in my opinion, some contracts that just don't make sense. And a lot of these contracts just never made sense in the first place. It's not like a player who signs a contract and then they just happen to get injured straight away, or they have a steady decline in their ability. These are contracts that, in my opinion, just did not make sense from the get-go. First, we have got Joe Johnson, who signed a 6-year, $123.7 million deal with the Hawks in 2010, which made him the highest paid player in the NBA. Yes, a borderline all-star who wasn't the top 20 player in the league was the top paid player. A little bit like what Mike Conley was this year, but Mike Conley is just a solid player and they needed to keep him. This contract isn't as bad as all the other ones on the list, but the only thing is that for a lot of that contract he was either the highest paid or the second highest paid player in the league. Even though he was an all-star in 2014, at times, for a lot of that period, he wouldn't have been a top 50 player in the game, and he was getting paid the second most. Next we have got Josh Smith, who signed a 4-year, $54 million deal with the Detroit Pistons, which didn't really make sense. The Detroit Pistons were trying to build around Andre Drummond and Greg Monroe, so they signed Josh Smith, who played the same position as Monroe, and then they tried to move him to the 3, where he just spent a year jacking up threes, shooting 26% off nearly 4 attempts a game. There should have been a clause in his contract where there was a fine every time he put up a 3, but in the end, after not even 2 years, Josh Smith was waived in December of 2014. Yep, he was waived with 26 million left to be paid. That's how much of a cancer he was on the Detroit Pistons team. He signed for the Rockets and did well at the end of last season, but this year had a horrendous year, and was even quoted saying that his $6.9 million salary will be tough on his family. Yep, that's what he said. This year he also shot 4 threes a game with the Houston Rockets, which is insane for someone who's a career 27% for 3-point shooter or something. Next we've got Jerome James, who signed a 5-year, $30 million deal with the New York Knicks, and this is just one of the many bad deals Isaiah Thomas gave players when he was in charge and when he was the GM in the Knicks. But anyway, obviously there was the likes of Eddie Curry's contract, Stephon Marbury's contract, but the thing is, they were decent players. Jerome James never was. Jerome James wasn't that good a player before the contract, and barely played after the contract. I know they traded away their centers and they needed just to get somebody, but the fact that he had 2 decent playoff series, earned $6 million a year, well, that's not much now. It was a lot then, especially when they signed Eddie Curry at the same time, who sucked as well. This is just one of the most confusing contracts I think I've ever seen. Next up we've got John Konchak, who signed a 6-year, $13 million deal with the Atlanta Hawks in 1989, and this doesn't seem like much by today's standards, but he actually made more money than Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird at the time. 3 of the best players of all time. And John Konchak himself didn't know why he got the contract. His name was pretty much John Contract for a few years. He actually was the reason why Shaq gave up football to play basketball. Shaq was a football player, and when he saw how much John Konchak was making, he just actually decided to give up football and focus on basketball. So at least this contract led to one good thing for the NBA. John Konchak, before the contract, was a decent role player. He averaged 6 rebounds and just over 4 points a game. But to earn more than 3 of the best players in the world at that time, off the back of them stats, is ridiculous. John Konchak, even after the contract, was still the exact same player. He was a decent role player who never actually averaged more than 8 points a game in his career and never averaged more than 7 rebounds a game. He was an average player who at the time was earning more than the 3 best players in the game. His contract again isn't as bad because he was a role player, he fit his team well, but the fact that he was getting paid so much and even before the contract he was just a role player is ridiculous. Last up we have got Gilbert Arenas, who signed a 6-year, $111 million deal in 2008, but the reason why this is probably the worst contract of all time
is the fact that he was injured when he signed the contract, and his first year only played 2 games. He even admitted himself that it's probably the worst contract, and has said that he got paid based on what he had done, not what he was going to do. In the end, he actually brought a gun into the locker room, which is just ridiculous. Gilbert Arenas' contract is 100% the worst of all time because he was getting paid up to 2014. He was out of the league in 2012. No team would take him. Gilbert Arenas went from being one of the best players in the world, and then he just got injured. But the thing is, he was signed while he was injured. It's not like a player like Grant Hill who went and was kind of half injured and then did his knee in his first year. No, Gilbert Arenas was injured before he got the contract, then got injured straight after he got the contract. He played just over 100 games in those 6 years, and for the Grizzlies, what did he average, like 5 points a game in his last year in the league? So without doubt, this is probably the worst contract in NBA history. So that's the video. These are just 5 contracts I think were really bad. I know there's a lot more bad ones. Stephon Marbury, you could have the 5 worst contracts from the New York Knicks between 2004 and 2008, to be honest. That could be its own video. So anyway, I'm probably going to get another one of these out in the future. And as always, thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe.